Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing right now.
Every power user uses Alt-Tab. It's the keyboard shortcut that probably beats all other keyboard shortcuts. Or in the case of Mac OS X, Command-Tab. Does the same thing. It switches between all the open programs, applications, if you will. Inside of Windows, I knew there had to be a better way to switch between open apps. Indeed, there are a lot of task switchers out there, alternatives to the Alt-Tab keyboard shortcut. And the best one for Windows is a piece of freeware known as Task Switch XP. And if you're running Windows XP, you have to be running Task Switch XP. Anything else is simply uncivilized. It is a powerful task switcher, an amazing task switcher with so many options. In fact, I've got Windows pulled up behind me, and I've got the Task Switch XP, if I can say that right, interface pulled up. I pulled it up simply by doing an Alt-Tab, and this looks radically different. I've got all my open tasks here, but as I hover over each task, you see what's popping here, there, and everywhere. That's an actual live screenshot, a screen grab of the application and where it sits in respect to other applications on my desktop. More importantly, I could right-click any one of these applications, switch to it, minimize it to the tray, restore it, maximize it, close it, or end the process. There are tons of things you can do inside of Task Switch Pro. It's free. You can change the appearance, where the task switching window appears, the preview and how that works. I mean, there's the hotkeys, everything, and it's free. Run it. Never had an issue with it. In my entire life, I never had an issue with that program. I love it on Windows. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, what about the equivalent in Mac OS X? That's a good question. I'm going to show you. We'll open up a couple of apps here and then point out the Alt-Tabbing interface, or Command-Tab, I should say. Sorry, Mac OS X. Nice big icons. I mean, it's in. I'm going to zoom in just in case you can see my spam. Somewhat different from Windows, but for all intents and purposes, it's the same kind of task switching. What's a little frustrating for Windows users moving to Mac OS X, and maybe for Mac users too, is that when you minimize an application to the dock, down to the bottom of the screen, and I'm going to zoom in there, down to the dock here, then, and I'll zoom out again, when I tab to an open application, like let's say iCal, well, wait a minute, I'm command tabbing to it, why isn't it popping up? I'm trying to make it pop up, it's not popping up. Why is it not popping up? Well, indeed, it is popping up. So if I switch to iCal there, you'll notice the menu bar changes. It's bringing the application to the foreground, just not the application window. But I stumbled into something that was quite useful today on accident. If I'm command tabbing, and let's say I want to open up the Mail app, so I'm hovered over it. Normally, if I let go here, it would bring it to the foreground, just not the window to the foreground. What I'm going to do now is roll my thumb over to the Option button and let go. That's all you got to do to bring the window to the foreground if you're frustrated with the way Command Tab works in Mac OS X. Again, Command Tab to the app you want to bring to the foreground, roll your thumb over to the Option, and then let go of the Command Tab, or conversely, you can do the Option key on the other side of your keyboard if you have it there. And then that app will pop up into the foreground, the window itself. And let's say you're saying, yeah, Chris, it's still not powerful enough. I want something that does something more. Well, if that's the case, you're going to want to run Witch. W-I-T-C-H, and we'll open it up. It is a system preference, and a system preference would be, the closest equivalent would be, the control panel in Windows. That's the system preference inside of, or the system preferences inside of Mac OS X. Which will let you, and it's free, by the way, Which, W-I-T-C-H, will let you totally control, much like Task Switch XP in Windows, will let you control every aspect of task switching. You can decide to cycle through Windows, all the applications, all the ones that are minimized, yada, yada, yada. You can even choose to deminimize all minimized windows, deminimize the frontmost applications, minimize windows, zoom the frontmost window, minimize, it goes on and on and on. It's got different behaviors, much like Task Switch XP. There are ways that you can tweak the preferences, like the appearance too, and I get to that by doing an option tab, and if I can, I don't know if I'm going to be able to zoom in. Okay, so I do an option tab, and I have it configured like this, and I can flip between all the open windows in a slightly different fashion. So my point is, and I can even right click and zoom, quit, customize, yada yada yada. The list kind of goes on and on. The point to all this is, number one, start using your task switching feature, your keyboard shortcut. Just do it. It's so much quicker. And then secondly, download the freeware for either Windows or Mac OS X, and you're going to be so much happier, especially if you're a power user. Maybe you're not a power user, but you like the features and functionality that the freeware brings you. There you go. That was as balanced as I could possibly make it, as affordable as I could possibly make it, and hopefully you're all going to run out to the respective places to grab both Witch and Task Switch XP. We'll be sure to put the links directly inside the show notes as I'm shifting around my home office here. And by the way, just to bring everybody up to speed, because I know you don't know how this is done, but to zoom in, how I'm zooming in on Mac OS X, I hold on to the control key and I scroll up with my scroll wheel. It's kind of a neat little feature. And I know there are freeware and shareware apps that will do something similar inside of Windows. I've talked about them before. Task Switch XP is one word for it, I believe, just to make it easier for people to find it on the search engines. Works for me, although I don't think it works in Windows Vista. Yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, if you guys got any other really helpful tips to share I'm looking for balanced tips though, not just for one or the other. I mean, give me a good balance. I wanna talk about both of these very popular operating systems, if I can, in one fell swoop. Hopefully, affordable solutions, freeware or shareware. But feel free to drop me a line. My email address is chris@pirillo.com. And you're also welcome to join us in our chat room. And sometimes we're talking about this stuff. Every once in a while I'll do something and people ask, well, how are you doing that? What's going on? And I'll have to explain it. And sometimes I'll have to explain it 40 million times, like I have to explain, how do you zoom up? Well, you do it this way. Can you do it in Windows? Well, not really without this. It's a world of software. It's also a world of joy and tears for fears. And everybody wants to rule the world. If you want to join us in our chat room, you're certainly welcome to. I'm streaming out this live video feed and audio to hundreds of people, even this late at night. Just blows me away. We take live calls. We have live conversations. It's kind of like television without the television, and more importantly, you're talking to people who also care a lot about technology. No matter what you're interested in, I can pretty much guarantee there's someone in the chat room right now who's interested in the same things you are. Of course, the chat room doesn't look very busy because we had to turn on the moderator a bit, because apparently the wackos come out at 2:30 in the morning. Go figure. Anyway, if you want to get to the chat room, as I said, we're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at live.pirillo.com. We'll see you later.